Welcome to this explainer. Let's just jump right in, shall we? Today we're going to strip away centuries of walled-in, empire-centric history and uncover a truly fascinating new perspective. We're talking about completely rethinking what we thought we knew about history, wisdom, and survival, just by looking at the source material through a totally different lens.
I want you to transport yourself for a second. Picture a visually striking, almost biopunk Levantine wilderness. Imagine silver olive trees glowing with these soft sapphire sparks against a massive starlit desert sky. 'Cause today, we're examining the life of Jesus, but not as some stuffy urban theologian. No, we're looking through a raw nomadic lens. What actually happens when we place him right back into the harsh, clarifying sands of the Levantine desert?
All right, moving into Section 1, the nomadic assembly.
So look at the massive contrast here between our usual urbanized assumptions and the gritty reality of desert survival. For centuries, our understanding has been filtered through this urban, Hellenistic lens. Think complex theology, rigid institutional hierarchies, and walled-in security. But the nomadic reality? It's entirely different. It's all about direct, experiential faith, pure asceticism, and incredibly fluid wilderness survival. To really grasp the source material, we absolutely have to look at it from the perspective of a desert wanderer.
Picture this, a tribal council gathering around the glowing embers of a futuristic desert campfire, a Shabbat al-Nar. Based on our historical analysis, we're placing a strong, broad-shouldered Jesus sitting right there with representatives from four powerful ancient Arab tribes of 1st century Palestine. We're talking the Nabateans, the Aturians, the Lakhmids, and the Kedarites. It's a space of shared linguistic roots between Aramaic and ancient Arabic, where real wisdom is traded under the open sky.
And to truly get into this headspace, we can have to frame our explainer today as a Hakaya. Now, a Hakaya isn't just some simple story. It's a profound riddle told under that vast starlit sky. It is specifically designed to pass down deep wisdom. But here's the catch. It is only meant for those perceptive enough to actually listen and decode it. Are you with me?
Let's head into Section 2, Forged in the Wilderness.
The sources point to some super clear historical markers of a nomadic life that was completely integrated with the open desert. We see him wearing a simple, unstitched bisht, subsisting on wild honey, and speaking with a highly distinct Galilean Bedouin accent. Guys, this wasn't someone living in temple luxury. This was an itinerant wanderer directly connected to the raw earth.
But you might be wondering, why the desert? Well, out there, far away from urban corruption, the desert provides what the sources call tazkiyah. This is a profound purification and development of the self. Think about it. Tending sheep and surviving in that harsh isolation builds immense patience, incredible psychological insight, and a deep, grounded Barzakian consciousness. It's the perfect balance between gritty physical survival and towering spiritual presence.
That brings us to Section 3, Protocols of Desert Hospitality.
Finding a host in the unforgiving desert is literally everything. It's life or death. The ancient protocols of the Al-Mutazi, meaning the ultimate host, form the absolute foundation of Jesus' itinerant ministry. This is the kind of host who honors their guests by providing absolute provision, fierce protection, and true delight. We're talking about washing the dust from a traveler's feet or even slaughtering a fat camel for nourishment.
With that cultural context in mind, let's look at a very famous instruction. Do not carry a purse or a bag or sandals. Now, if we look at this through a modern urban lens, this just sounds like an extreme, almost punishing vow of poverty, right?
But flip that and look at it through a Bedouin lens. It's actually about walking into the harsh wilderness with complete, utter certainty. It is the ultimate declaration of independence and absolute, radical trust that the divine Al-Mutazeh, the ultimate host, will provide. I mean, you literally don't need a purse when you trust the ironclad laws of desert hospitality and the providence of the Creator.
Okay, moving on to Section 4, Decoding the Desert Parables. So, foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. You've likely heard this quote before, but I really want you to read it again, this time entirely through the lens of a nomad.
Notice how the meaning completely shifts here. It goes from being a sad urban lament about homelessness and poverty right into a powerful Bedouin declaration. It's the boast of the ultimate son of the road, a resilient youth who relies totally on the open desert and the stars rather than the artificial, walled-in security of a city.
And then we have this one.
It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. This is perhaps the most famous enigma of them all. For centuries, theologians have tried to overcomplicate this to no end, but it's actually a masterpiece of Bedouin riddles, perfectly designed to test the intellect and separate genuine seekers from arrogant urban debaters.
You see, it's not complex theology at all. It's pure, stark visual contrast. The camel is the absolute biggest thing a nomad interacts with on a daily basis, massive weight and survival bulk. In the eye of the needle, that's the absolute smallest opening, used to mend the very tents they sleep in. This almost humorous, extreme contrast is exactly what makes the riddle so memorable to a nomadic audience. It's just brilliant desert logic.
Okay, here's another one. Be as wise as serpents. To a city dweller, comparing someone to a snake sounds, well, deceitful, sinister, and totally untrustworthy.
But out in the shifting dunes, the source material tells us the serpent represents phenomenal, quick-witted survival. It's all about hyper-awareness, instant adaptability, and being able to perfectly read your environment in a totally hostile landscape. It's not about the venom at all. It's the ultimate survival skill translated into profound practical advice.
All right, Section 5, the Salfa of the Prodigal Son. This right here is the climax of our Hakaya, a story told by Jesus to the tribal council as those sapphire embers glow, the famous story of the prodigal son, framed here as the Salfa of the old man and his sons. And this story reveals true, unmatched Bedouin magnanimity and hospitality. When the disgraced son returns, the father doesn't demand an accounting of wasted money. No way. He displays sheer, noble grace and mercy. He immediately gives the boy a bisht, a cloak of immense honor. He gives him the ring, a symbol of tribal sovereignty. And he orders the slaughter of the hashi, the fat camel, to celebrate. Viewing this through a nomadic lens reveals its breathtaking cultural power, restoring honor without demanding a transaction. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 6, the blessing of peace.
Let's look at the concept of Raya, the Good Shepherd. Out in the desert, this isn't some soft pastoral metaphor or a fancy title of temple prestige. Not at all. It's a profound symbol of literal life-on-the-line sacrifice. It is the grit required to willingly sleep in the freezing cold and physically face down the wolf to protect the flock. It completely redefines spiritual leadership into raw, protective sacrifice.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. When you see this ancient wisdom not as stuffy city doctrine, but as raw nomadic survival, when you strip away centuries of institutional theology and view history directly through the lens of a desert campfire, how does it fundamentally change your understanding of the truth? Does it reshape everything you thought you knew? Think about that as the embers fade.